Good evening, viewers, and welcome once again to Talk Back with Gillian. This is your Sunday evening program where we take a look at the trending political issues in our country today. I'm your host, Gillian Burton Persaud, and I'll be with you up until 8 hours this evening when we take an in-depth look at all the issues politically that are affecting us here in Guyana. But as usual, before we get right into the program, we will begin with our quote for today. And that quote is, "Make your life a masterpiece. Imagine no limitations on what you can be, have, or do." Make your life a masterpiece. Imagine no limitations on what you can be, have, or do. And that quote came from Brian Tracy. Well, today's Sunday. It's August the 11th, 2019, and for the past week, once again, I must apologize for being unable to be here last week on last week's program. I was a bit under the weather, but, we had all the picketing exercises and all of that. Sometimes it takes a bit of toll on you, but you got to keep the energy going. However, for the past week, we've been having a lot of issues coming out politically in Guyana. And one of the things I want to start off to look at is, and the question is, are women being placed in leadership positions just for window dressing? Are our women being placed in leadership positions just for window dressing? And some persons might ask, why I've came up with that kind of question. Because if we take a look at the scenario around us, where persons are being placed in high-profile positions, we see lots of women, especially from the judiciary, they are being placed in these high-profile positions. Sometimes I wonder if the males might get a bit, jealous of what is going on. We have the Chief Justice as a female. We have Court of Appeal, the Acting Chancellor, and the Justice of Appeal, both females. And our latest addition has been a retired judge, Justice Claudette Singh, who has become the first female to be the chairman of GCOM. It's great when we can have our women in these positions, and we women like to talk about breaking the glass ceiling, and we've shattered the glass ceiling. I myself shattered the glass ceiling as being the first woman, the first female to become president of the Guyana Trades Union Congress. But I can tell you from experience, it was not an easy task. And so whenever I see one of my sisters get to that level, and where we echo and we bounced at it and we high-five them and we're like all jubilant and we're celebrating. I think back of my own position where there were lots of challenges, and you come to realize sometimes that you are placed there just to say that there's a female there. And this is something, even as a commissioner on the Women and Gender Equality Commission, apart from being a politician and a member of parliament, one of the things that we need to look at, do we have a government or men just trying to put women in leadership to satisfy the United Nations calling for us to have 33 1/3 women in parliament and in leadership capacities? Is it just for that? Do you get to make your mark? Do you get to put forward your program? Do you get to carve your own niche? Or are you surrounded by males who are egotistic, very predominant, and just see you there as, oh, you sit there, have a pretty face, have a great smile, but you know what? We're going to tell you what to do, and you're going to do the work. And because I've went through the experience, that is why I asked the question today. I'm happy that my sisters are in leadership position. I'm happy that they have been able to take the mantle up and go with it. But I do hope that they will be given the space, they will be given the cooperation, they will be given the encouragement, they will be given that love that they need, that unity from their brothers on the other side to help them to be able to do their work and do it the way they see it to be done. So I congratulate all the women in leadership. It's not an easy task to get there, but when we get there, and this is a message to our male counterparts, when we get there, give us a chance to do the work. Give us a chance to carve our own niche. Give us a chance to make our programs and our projects work. Just don't put us there to be like, mannequins or expensive figurines placed on a high-top glass table, and you're just adorning the room. And so you sit there and you smile sweetly, but they make the decision making. If we're going to have women in decision making positions, we need to let them be able to make the decisions. And at this point in time, so much is going on. We see so many women being placed in the positions where they have to make some real critical decisions. And my thought is, are they going to be allowed to make those decisions? Are those decisions going to be respected by those egotistic men that we have out there? I'm not saying all the brothers are egotistic. You have brothers out there, who champion your cause, who work with you, who give you ideas, who's in sync with what you're doing, who give you a chance to do your work. And if they see you going wrong, they can pull you back. But they have a few, a little cliche out there. They're very egotistic about themselves, They feel that, they got to keep manning up all the time. So in doing so, they hinder you, the female leader, from doing what you have to do. And if it's their way or no way. If you can't do it, then, it's pandemonium that is going to break loose on you. And the sad thing about it is that when that happens, they take your own female sisters and put them to do the dirty work. So I want to tell my sisters out there, when your sister rise to the top and your sister got her high profile position and she got work to do not allow yourself to be used as a tool to pull her down or to limit her in what she's doing. Because your day is going to come when you're going to accede to those levels, and, same thing is going to happen to you. So we got to work together. We have the women in leadership. We have our women in high decision-making positions. Let us give them a chance to do the work and prove themselves and do the work the way they think and see it should be done. I want to look at, there is something that is really troubling in our country today. The continued disrespect for our Constitution. Somewhere along the line, I think it might be somebody's mindset that we gather back all of the copies of the Constitution of Guyana, put them in one big heap. I don't know if you're going to put them on the Durban, the Jubilee Park, or where, and light them afire. You know why? Because it is not being acknowledged or adhered to from the highest right down. We talk about the respect for the rule of law. And that is where it comes in, the Constitution, the respect for the rule of law, our law book. And it is so sad that the government, who is the custodian of that rule book, that law book, themselves are not adhering to it. They've disrespected our Constitution. People will want to say you keep harping about the no confidence motion. I keep saying the no confidence motion was not plucked out of the skies. It came about by way of a process. It came about by way of persons expressing their concerns for the economy of our country. And it is so sad that when the opposition, who is the watchdog of the system that is being governed by the government, that is the job of the opposition, to watchdog the system and make sure the policies and the principles and the laws are adhered to, went out there, did the footwork, spoke to the people, heard their cries and their concerns, heard the fact that we are not able with this government anymore. We need to have a different government. took that by way of a motion to the National Assembly. It was tabled, it was debated, and it was won. It was passed. And then, we had all the grassmatics that took place, and it went to the courts. It went to the highest level, the Caribbean Court of Justice, who pronounced on it. We should have had elections based on that no confidence motion being successful, based on the fact that the president of the country said the very next day that he was going to adhere to the process that would happen, and so they'll have early elections. And then somewhere, I want to feel somebody tossed up his head with this grassmatics. And then the very next week we had what was being said that, okay, good, that is not a majority. You have a simple majority in all the majorities that we had. The Parliament, by way of the Speaker of the National Assembly, did not overturn it. He said, take it to the courts, let them deal with it. It went to the court, the High Court. The Chief Justice ruled on it, that it was in order. It went to the Court of Appeal, who upturned it and said, no, the no confidence motion was not in order. And then it went to the CCJ, who many of us was able to look at the proceedings via live streaming, who pronounced on it. We should have had elections since March 21st. The People's Progressive Party, civic as the opposition, by way of its leader, the leader of the opposition, Dr. Barajagyo, continues to say that as of March 21st, the government was illegal, but the Court of Appeal gave it a lease of life. It went to the CCJ, who pronounced on it. Today, we're having all the political and constitutional confusion in our country as regards to whether the Constitution is correct. And you see in all the different interpretations of the Constitution, which a primary school child can look at, read, and understand. Because the beauty of our Constitution, it is not in technical language. It's in very simple day-to-day language. So I can't see where all this confusion is coming from. And not to adhere to what is happening tells you that the Constitution is being disrespected, and that Constitution is being disrespected by the custodians of the Constitution. Why do we have to reach to the point where we have to say, oh, it's an illegal government, and we have to have all the back and forth going? And I will always say, we have persons who are leading our country, who are governing our country, a regime who finds it convenient to put something out there. They test the waters. They put something out there, and if the electorate, the people, the citizens of this country don't make any noise, okay, it slides down like, with some butter or some oil. But if you make a ruckus about it, they pull back, and then they do the right thing. It's becoming frustrating for our citizens in this country that simple rules, laws that are there, that are supposed to be adhered to, are not being adhered to. And persons' lives, as we can say right now, it's in limbo. The private sector has spoken about, what is going on in the economy. We have citizens coming out. We have protests going on. And still the government cannot be bothered, And, sometimes you're asking if the dog is wagging the tail or the tail is wagging the dog as it regards to our country's affairs. And, on the last program when I was here, somebody said that the burden is on the head of the president. Yes, it is, because you are the leader of the affairs of this country. And despite the fact you might be given bad, poor, irrelevant, reckless, irresponsible advice, you have to think it through. Because at the end of the day, the buck stops at you. And there's the old saying, uneasy is the head that wears the crown. So it's not an easy task, but you got to do the work. Because the people of Guyana the world over is looking at you as the leader of this country to pilot the affairs in the right direction, to let your nay be nay and your yea be yea. But we're seeing something completely different. And it has become embarrassing for us as Guyanese when you have a head of state who says one thing now, and you feel, okay, we're going down the right road. And then in a matter of days, sometimes in a matter of hours, and we saw we're not even in hours, in a matter of, let us say, less than an hour, one decision made, and then you came back and say something. And it's bad when you have to watch on social media, read on social media, people calling your head of state a liar, people saying cannot be trusted. I am saying at the end of the day, the head of state is of Guyana and represents all Guyana, which means you represent me. So when people say bad things about you, it's actually they're saying bad things about me. And I have a problem with that. Because you do not expect that from a head of state. And I'm wondering, because I've said on my very first program that the no confidence motion that was passed in the National Assembly on the 21st of December 2018 was not the first no confidence motion to be passed in the world. It has a history of over 320 something years that the first no confidence motion was passed in this world, and it was adhered to. And every other no confidence motion after that was adhered to. We had up to recent in the United Kingdom, where the no confidence motion was passed against the very prime minister at the time, Theresa May. And elections was happening, you have a new prime minister. What makes Guyana so different? Is it that we're trying to be the first country in the history of the world to not adhere to a no confidence motion and just throw it out? Or, I know the president is a historian apart from being a military personnel. I'm wondering if in the facade of his mind he's trying to rewrite the history of Guyana by being the first president in the world to disadhere to the rulings of a no confidence motion that has been successful at the highest level of the court of the judiciary in our region, the Caribbean Court of Justice. And I'm leaving that out there. Then we continue to hear the very irresponsible and, reckless comments being made again at persons in leadership. I have to take it there. I have to go there. When you have become a leader, whether it's in an organization, whether it's in your community, whether it's in your country, wherever you are, there is a burden that has been placed on you to guide and to lead, to be a role model to other persons. And by that, you have to watch your speech. You have to watch what you say. You have to be careful what you do. Because there are people out there who are going to try to emulate your actions and your words. Today in Guyana, we're witnessing leaders in our society who are making some of the most irresponsible, reckless, and damning statements at a particular time like this, at a very crucial time like this, at a time whether we want to accept it or not, that tension is rising high in our country, politically and ethnically. The tensions are high. And as a leader, whatever you say, there are people who will follow what you say. I am saying that these elections that we need to have, or any other elections, so to speak, is one where our comments, what we say, will have weight. And we need to debate on issues and not on personalities. We need to debate on policies that will take our country forward. I continue to say that when you go out there on the elections campaign and you plead and you ask and you beg, because whether we like it or not as politicians, some people we have to really beg them to vote for us. And we get out there and we place our manifesto, our policy book out there to the people, and we encourage them to vote for us, they are voting for a better life for themselves and their families. Nobody's voting to go through hardships and suffering and a decline in their lives. People are voting for betterment, upliftment, for the good life that was promised by the coalition government. And when it is not happening, they have a right to speak out. And when they speak out, you and we as leaders, you can't get annoyed with the people and then threatening. We have leaders who are saying that if the house registration is going to be called off, and you just had a GCOM chairman placed in, so for me, you're threatening the retired Justice Madam Claudette Singh. For me, that's a threat to her. That should the GCOM call her, because she's heading GCOM now, she's carrying the burden of GCOM on her back. Should she call off house-to-house registration, that will be dire consequences in this country. And coming from none other than the advisor, the lead advisor on the laws and the rule of law in this country, the Attorney General. Well, if the Attorney General can say that, what is left for other people to do and say? That particular person supposed to be able to be guiding the rule and the law and the security of this country. You have the security, the public security minister with the same kind of utterances. So where is the security? Where is my safety that you promised me to take care of? And it is enshrined in the constitution of this country. Then I'm left, as they would say, to the mercies of Tiberius. Whatever happened to me. Because my leaders are saying openly, publicly, at public forums, to the media, on social media, that if things don't go the way they want it to go, then things gonna happen. Is this what we want for our country? Because I keep saying, when we loot and burn and break up the country, whoever has the responsibility of being the government will have to take time to build it back. So that is being so irresponsible, to the fact of being stupid, foolish. Because you're talking about development, you're talking about building the country, you're talking about taking us to the next level, and then with the same breath, you're saying destroy the country. Because when you talk about dying consequences, it goes a very long way. It's a very broad statement. And then we have another leader, when asked about the cabinet, saying that the cabinet will not resign, another disrespect for the rule of law. Then you have another leader, political leader, who when asked about the influx of Haitians coming to the country said, well, you know what? If I put out vacancies and you who live, born and bred in the country saying that you want X dollars, and other people coming from other countries and saying they're going to take far less than that, what you want me to do? I will take the people who are coming for the less dollars. But you got on the campaign trail and you promised jobs to the young people of this country. You promised job creations. You promised so many thousand jobs are going to be made available. But today we're still waiting for the jobs. And I'm calling out the labor leaders of this country, because this is a labor issue. As a labor leader, you're there to save and protect jobs. And I find my labor colleagues are very thrown back about the matter. You know? I'm not hearing them saying anything. I'm not seeing them putting on any protest. I'm not seeing them coming out on any program, television or wise, and condemning something like that openly, unitedly. So for me, 1st of May, united May Day rallies it doesn't make any sense. You're talking about jobs for Guyanese being given away. I am not saying that people should not come to the country and seek jobs. Yes, because Guyanese goes to other countries and seek jobs. But we're looking at a high percentage of persons as against the availability of jobs. That is it. If we had so much jobs, we didn't mind. Because, you know, Guyana is a very small population, and to get the country kicking and going, you would be glad to have persons, you know, come in and give their share. But when you're going to make statements like that, that if you can't take the money that the foreigners taking, then there is no job, so you go and suffer, or turn to crime, or do whatever you want, but I'm not interested. And Guyanese are annoyed because when the questions were raised as the fact of jobs not being available, they were told to go and do cocoa and plantain chips. And that was an insult to Guyanese. But at another time, they were told by the president that the government doesn't have a responsibility to create jobs for anybody. So what are you saying to me? You're saying to me, let me suffer after I voted for you based on the good life that you promised to me. And that is so sad and so bad for Guyanese. So I'm calling out all the labor leaders in this country. You need to draft this address. You cannot allow your populace to be unemployed while they sit back and look at their jobs being given away and nothing is left for them. And I come to the point where it deals with this same job situation, but within a bit of a different aspect. And I call it, you know, the Haitian confusion. Because you have a security minister, you have a minister of citizenry, and nobody can tell you what's going on when questions are being asked. So many persons came in the country. Are they still in this country? Have they left the country? Were they tourists? Are they now residents in the country seeking to become citizens of this country? All of that, lots of questions going around. And you're getting a lot of high-handed, and I would say can't be bothered answers. Because you have the Minister of Citizenry who's saying to you, yes, so many people came. First he's saying, I don't know what you're talking about. And then, yes, people came in and only so many we recorded left. So where are the rest of people? You got a track record on people. We can't go nowhere in the world and a track record is not on us. You have to have a track record of where these persons are. It's not only because people are trying to be funny, or people are trying to be nosy, or people are trying to be difficult. It has to do with your national security. And it has to do with anybody who comes into your country. How long have this person been in this country? Have they left? Where are they? So it's not only about one set of people. For me, it has to do with every person who comes into this country as a visitor, or if they come to seek permanent or temporary residence, then we must have the records in place. If we do not have the records in place, how are we going to know who are persons to vote and who are not to vote? How are we going to keep a track record of who are involved in criminal activities and who are not? Who have overstayed their time illegally or not? It's a simple situation. And then you see the persons are being employed in large numbers. How did they become to be employed? What was the process used? Is it the correct process that was used? Is anybody here running from a life of crime in their country to come and hide out here? These are things. And so persons need not to be, get annoyed and angry and say, as I say, reckless comments on these things. We have a country to run. It's a business we're running. It's not a business. It's not a cat and mouse game. And the security of our country is very important to us. So I would wish those leaders who are going about with those reckless statements, if they can just think before they speak. And the persons are raising eyebrows when they see a lot of the persons coming in are into the security sector. Is there something else apart from that? We don't know. I'm putting it out there. Again, on Let's Talk Back with Gillian. And then we have the situation, again, of reckless comments and behavioral attitudes. that are being meted out to persons who've decided to change political parties. Now, it is my democratic right to choose where I want to go, and I can really live with those persons and what they're going through because I've had my taste of it. But you know me, I cannot be bothered. It is my democratic right to choose. It is enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Articles 21, Articles 19, Articles 20. I have that right to choose, the right to associate, the right to be involved in the decision making of the political party that represents me and is a part of the country. So when persons cross over, you know, these things that you see people putting out on Facebook and calling them all these irrelevant names, you know, come on, let's burn it down, as the young people would say. I say again, persons leave for many reasons. Persons leave because if the policy in that party is not the policy I want to embrace, why should I stay and get in a fight? Just go my way. And if there is another party that has the policies that I would want to embrace and work with, then it is my right to go there. But we're seeing differently at this point in time. We're seeing a breakdown of standards, and it all comes from the fact that those who are leaders in our country have disrespected the highest law book in our country, the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And so sad, it is coming from the very party that in 1980 ensured that the Constitution by way of a referendum was changed to suit the Republic of Guyana at the time. And that very party, don't bother with all the name changes and what's going on, it's the same party, have now decided to disrespect the very works of their political leaders who they like to put up in front and celebrate, as they did only last week. Because the Constitution of Guyana came under the stewardship of the president at the time, Forbes Burnham, who was the leader of the People's National Congress, which has decided to change its name to some point to a Partnership for National Unity, APNU. Sad. And the president comes from that very political party. So sad. Disrespecting the very Constitution that was fought for to be changed so that it can enhance the lives of the people of Guyana. So sad. I'm going to open up the phone lines now to take some calls, and you can make your calls on 233-24-2459. 233-2459. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Hey Gillian, special good evening to you, mate.
Thank you.
You know, Gillian, I always look at your program. But you know what, sweetheart? To be honest with you, I'm hurting. You know, the greatest resource of any nation I consider to be human resource. But Gillian, I tell you what, I want to mention a few names to you before I go further. And these are the names. Courtney Pomiring, Wana Waddle, Donna McKinnon, Sat Dioso, and the Londoners that were shot and killed after the electricity subsidy was taken from under protest. You know something, Gillian? I tell you what, today the big issue is about the no contest motion and the ruling of CCJ and the Constitution and everything. But then indeed to that, I'm hurting. Because you know what? There isn't much of a big issue with these names that I've just mentioned. And you know what, see that? It all happened under the PPP regime. And why Courtney Committee was executed? Why Ronavado was executed? Why Dano McKenna was executed? Why the Linda North was executed? Sweetheart, that is so hurting. And that is a major concern for me. Compare with this current issue. And that is my contribution, sweetheart.
Thank you for your contribution. Have a great evening. Well, I keep saying, and I forever say, Everybody has the right to their opinion. And I say that what was wrong then was wrong then. And what is wrong now is wrong now. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Oh, hi, Miss Gillian. Good evening.
Good evening.
You have a nice tan. I just want to say Guyana has become a free-for-all state. It's anything for everyone. Come, take whatever you want. Nobody has control over nothing because they're busy getting rich. They don't care what's happening here, and it's not only the Haitians and whoever else is coming here. We have a diplomat who is up front and center in our business when they can't even take care of what's happening in their own backyard. And you know, somebody needs to get control of what's happening here. President Granger doesn't have what it takes to get a handle on what's happening in this country. He doesn't care. Somebody needs to do something, and very soon. Anyway, you have a good evening.
Thanks for coming through.
Good comments. Keep coming.
Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian. Well, sometimes I feel that, you wonder if it's the advisors or if it's the president. That is why I'm saying there's so much confusion in going through the minds of the Guyanese people. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Gillian, a blessed night to you.
Thank you.
I will sit every Tuesday, every time you're on the program, fighting to get you, but I don't get you. But tonight it was lucky to have you. I want to say that what poor son can you deprive that the highest court of justice, and you're the head of a country, and you don't respect it, then what would the people in this country do?
Well, that is why I'm saying, we as leaders, we have a right to respect our Constitution and the rule of law. Because we expect the ordinary man to do that.
Okay, when the president won, can you remember how much poster, how much things from the North American was talking about bloodstained hands? If a man is so clean and he loves his country and people, come back and treat them good. We put the past behind. I am over 60. And I can remember when President Burnham, the best I can think, the best man could talk without the paper. And he was the best law. And nobody could have moved him, but God could remove him. Last week, I heard in the emancipation, you know what the president said? When you want to get rich, you got to come through me. I want to know if he was a machine printing the money. but you know what? Those remarks are sad to our country. You have to put love and you don't have to fight for riches. You have to see if people live normal, have a good life, enjoy, and pray for the president. Pray for the minister of the country to have good things. Don't suffer the people. Don't tell me if I register on jail me. First time in the wall I hear, if you doesn't register, I jail you. How much jail you have? You can't comply to tell me what to do. Because you don't give me anything to live happy. Even though we work, our salary is below human consumption. Because cost of living is high. We have kids, we have family, light bill raised, phone, everything raised. But where is the money? They said they have medical, and my family went to the hospital. But she died 2 days ago. And it hadn't enough saline, it had enough this, and it had enough that. You have to go on the road and buy, and be time that the person dies. And we have all medical facilities. When you hear on the news, the minister saying you're short of nothing. But let's come down in the country and see where we live in the West Demerara, people dying and not having no medication. How can we live and feel happy to put those same people back again? people who threaten you to say, if you unregister, me go jail you. But how many jail doors are open for this country? Why should you? Why don't you say you should register and we would see the better yet to come? You know, it's good. Have a choice. You have to make the good choice. They can comply with you. But if a president can do such, what will this country become? If you do house-to-house registration, when this would pass, that we would have election. Next 2 years? Next 3 years? If the law passed and we had no confidence, okay, then I agree, they send to CCJ. What happened now? And he said he understands. He accepts everything that CCJ said. But he only speak it, he can't live it, he can't act it. He's supposed to decline. They're supposed to come out to the parliament. But they're passing more land. This everything is right again. I thought they win the election and it's back. Where are we heading?
Well, that is why we say we have as leaders, we must respect a rule of law. We must respect our constitution. But, you know, sad to say, it is not happening. And, you know, as I said, reckless comments by irresponsible leaders, you know, you don't register, then we'll jail you and those kinds of things, you know. So it's the big bad bullies that are out.
Man, that's not bully, that's barbarian. That's not bullyism, that's barbarian. I don't know, you don't have words, I can't say the words because I pray God just hear our prayer and just, you know, I see one man was so powerful for 28 years, but didn't get to see face, but see Jacob face for days. I was almost living in town every night and day to visit. You have to press a button and the button ain't coming up. You see how God is good?
Yes, all the time. All right, well, thank you for coming through.
But you see, Jacob, now, they put you in a showcase, man, and you not get space, you know, man. Every day I in town, but every day I gotta go change because the car rocking and talking and pulling.
Okay, my sister, let's give someone else a chance right now to make their comment.
I said he never come out, but God is good to take any one of us out. You have a blessed night.
Same to you, and thanks for your comments. Well, that was a caller there who had a lot on our chest to give off. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Good evening to you.
Good evening.
I'm aware that the PVP is not taking part in the house registration, but you guys need to look in. There's a lot going on with the house registration, whereas persons' houses are being passed purposely. They've been, you know, and certain other persons are being registered.
Mm-hmm.
If you, I think you get a form ID.
Yeah, we're fully aware of what is going on.
What is going on in these things. So, apart from that, it shows clearly that some of these enumerators, they're not just mere people. They've been selected.
They're programmed.
They've been selected, and they have an agenda, a political agenda, to bypass certain people's houses, go and register some. If they find difficulty in getting to them, they will just withdraw, but for some they will go to the, you know. But let's wait to see what the
court ruling on the 14th.
And these things and so on. But if the court ruling is that the house registration should go through, and it is the decision also of the chairman, you guys need to get the people out, and all these people that was purposely neglected so as not to be registered, you need to get all of them registered. And also this accusation and this suspicion or these Haitian being registered, it needs to be properly investigated and checked for, and so on. All right, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. You know, that is so important. I've noticed that, you know, the person, if you're going to do house to house, they got to knock on every door. It's up to me if I say I want to be registered or I don't want to be, I want to be registered, I don't want to be registered. But you're seeing people walking about. I come to the conclusion that they're going in another area, so they're just passing by. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Hello, good night, Miss Gillian.
Good night.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm great.
Okay. Very interesting program. I always love your program. First, I must say that President Granger, if he is so confident and he says the people them love him, and he could bring down the star and give it to Gillian, why don't he come out and hold the election? Because if he tell himself he is so good, well then the people will support you, and you will win back again. If so, but afraid to go to the election because he cannot get back power again. And secondly, I want him to know that the longest rope carrying an end.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Good night, Ms. Gillian.
Good night.
About 4 years ago, there was Parliament in Trinidad.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a parliamentarian by the name of Munilal on the opposition bench. He called a member of the other side a snake. I don't know if you follow that. I know what was done to him. He was expelled from Parliament. He got to write an apology to the speaker, and he got to apologize openly.
Mm-hmm.
Do you listen with Blazer in America in the Situation Room? I'm asking you a question, Julia.
No, I know. I didn't listen to that. Uh-huh.
You don't listen to it. Thursday gone, they claiming and with this program that America, the land of the brave and the land of the free, that Mr. Trump is trampling on the Constitution of America. Right? Now, there's a guy that's carrying a program on Channel 29, 6 to 9.
Mm-hmm.
I say he's twisted. This man getting on public television, calling up president and his ministers a pack of thieves. What part in the world that twisted person could go and get on public television and calling a president openly and his ministers thieves? Did that president and his ministers have thief on that television make he calling them a thief? No part of the world he could have gone and done that. And most of these PPP supporters were calling and attacking these things. If you call them and you question them, they just call them because they have a telephone. What some of them say make no sense. And
Why would you say that?
You don't correct these people.
Listen, it's just as how you are saying that there is a commentator on a particular television channel that was, what I want to say is that you were saying that he was disrespectful. To call the president, to call the ministers a pack of thieves. But then, you're saying in the same vein, you are not being in the same line like him by saying that the people who are PPP supporters who calling on the programs, that they're just calling because they have a telephone. Just listen, just as how I'm listening to you and I'm taking your comments because there is freedom of speech and freedom of expression. I think those persons are they're saying the way they see it and what is on their minds. And this is what this program is about, giving persons a chance to say, do you hear me condemning or getting really angry about persons who say anything about the PPP that I might feel is not correct? No, I wouldn't. And just as what you were saying there, about persons calling people names, I have a problem with that in the National Assembly of Guyana. Because becoming a member of parliament, I never thought that I would have sit in the highest decision-making forum in this country and hear politicians, colleagues, who laugh and talk outside of the chambers, say the nasty things about each other. And that is where it starts. And if we as leaders are not talking about that, that is when it overflows. It's like you disrespect the Constitution, but you want the normal person to respect the rule of law. And that is why I'm saying I have a problem with these things. We are leaders, and we have to lead by example.
You know, Gillian, you and this girl Susan with the ski program told me, y'all are a bit impartial. But let me say this, in regards to how it is going in Parliament, we have a good Parliament, you know why? When you look at in Trinidad and in Japan, look in Trinidad the other day is something with kids where we walk across the storm, put backs and put cups in them. All the Japanese got big fights in the Parliament, I ain't know, you know.
Yeah, but I saw it and I was told the older Parliament of Guyana was like that at times. People used to take chairs and bang on the desk and jump up on the desk. But I want to, well, both sides I'm told used to do that. But what I'm saying, I am of a different dispensation.
Yeah.
And I want to see things different.
I want to see things clear.
Good.
And you must correct some of these callers when they talk here.
Well, I'm giving everybody a free chance to hear them. I am not going to get into conflict. You say your piece, and that's it. Okay, my brother?
Yeah, my sister.
Thank you, my dear. Have a great evening. You know, we have to give persons a chance, and that is where, you know, I stand on my maturity. Not everybody's going to love the PPP, and not everybody's going to love the coalition, and even the other little political parties. And it's freedom of expression. I am not going to muzzle anybody. You have to be really way off target and totally out of sync and disrespectful. Then I'm going to halt you. As a leader in this country, I'm going to remain very impartial. I'm going to remain very professional. The only time my partiality comes is when I have to put my ex to vote. That is when I'm partial, because I put my ex just one place. So, you know, that person's area of view, it doesn't worry me. I have thick skin. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian. Okay, that person went off. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian. Well, we have time to take just, I think, about 2 more calls because we have to wrap up. We're coming up closely to program time, you know, here. But the situation in Guyana, as I say, it's not a nice one. And we need to lead by example. We need not to encourage to have a civil strife and uprising and that kind of things. We need to debate on policies and issues and not on personalities. And we as leaders need to be very careful in what we say, what we go about saying, how we do it. We need to be open to the people because at the end of the day, we go to the people to ask them, to beg them, to implore them, to encourage them to vote for us to get us where we are today. We go begging for our jobs because at the end of the day, it's a job that you're given. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian. Okay, that person went off. I just hope that it's not, you know, persons playing pranks at this point in time. But we have a country to develop. We have youths to train, and we have youths to be given opportunity to. Guyana is so full and rich in natural resources, and it is so sad that we are not grasping on it and working on it. You know, the politicians fighting left, right, and center, and you know, all the confusion and the mayhem that is seemingly wanting to take place, and people are happy to happen. But you know what? At the end of the day, the ordinary citizens will suffer. The persons in the high offices, many of them will apply for political asylum. They will go to other countries. They will live their lives with their families very happy and peacefully. But it's the persons who are not leaving who would be left to suffer and to wait for the rebuilding of the nation. And that is what we cannot at this time entertain. We cannot entertain that at this time. We need to be wise. We need to let wisdom prevail. We need to be able to say our piece without being afraid or fearful of what will happen to us. We have to be free enough to go about our country in a very peaceful manner and do our business. This is my final call for this evening. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Good evening, Ms. Gillian. This registration, house-to-house registration, TCOM is only registering certain homes?
Well, that is the hue and cry across the country. I've seen it happen. I've been in various areas visiting people and see them pass by. So as I said, I can only want to say that they have a special list of persons who they should go and register, or that they're just passing through that area to go to another area to work.
I'm calling from Good Hope, and I could tell you, the house next door to me, they register, and they hasn't come to my place. One day, 6 of them turn up, and I asked if there's any scrutineer with them. They said the tree on the road, that tree is for PPP. I said I'm not asking about PPP. I'm asking who is the scrutineer.
Nobody could have said, well, this is my identification or whatever. They did not register nobody else in the street. Now, way down at the back in Good Hope, one and few houses, one here, one there, they're picking and choosing houses to register. And knowing that they're in the area. So I would like to know if only certain places or certain people they're registering.
Well, it seems that is the case. Because if they came next door and then they didn't come to you, you know, maybe you're not on the list.
But I vote for how many elections I already.
Well, this is a new dispensation, a new thing that we're seeing happening here on the house-to-house registration.
Now, another thing I would like to know, saying that our code, our decision that's making in our code in Guyana here is not for everybody. Because if a person, let's say like a minister, he got the ruling from the court, and then the last minute go to the president and say, I get a pardon. I want to know if I smoke a joint or commit an offense and I go to court, can I go to the president and say I want pardon too?
Yeah, maybe you could try your luck and see what's going to happen. Because we were told that the limitations on the thing for marijuana, and everybody was getting, those who use the marijuana was getting excited, only to know that it didn't pass in Parliament, nor it wasn't debated in Parliament, it cannot become law. So you could try your luck,
And how bad it looks that a minister who get a ruling from court has to disobey the court, and president agree with that. And it's the highest court in the land, in our land here.
Yeah.
Everything that our court rules is not enough for them. This government does not acknowledge no magistrate or no judge in this.
Well, they're the law unto themselves, okay? But I have to cut you off here because I have just 2 minutes left on my program time to wrap up. So thanks for coming through, okay? Well, this is where I have to start to wrap up my program here on Talk Back with Gillian. It's been a very great program. I have listened to the comments, and there's a saying, there's no stupid or irrelevant comment. You sit down and you piece it through, and you got some little bit of something that you could take out from it, extract from it. Some, everything is there, some, everything is not there. But as I close, I want to let you know, we are at a critical juncture in our country today. We need to let wisdom prevail. We need to let our leaders stop being irresponsible and reckless in the comments that they're making, and let them lead by example. And once and for all, let us start to uphold our law book, our main law book, the Constitution of Guyana. Unless we do that, our country is in a total state of lawlessness. And when our young people and our ordinary citizens behave in a lawless and reckless and can't be concerned manner, and they disrespect the laws of our land, then we should not say anything, because it started with us, the leaders, first. So on that note, I want to close with my usual excerpt here from, and it comes from Dr. Chedi Jagan, and it says, those who do not move do not notice their chains. And we're in the month of emancipation. So those who do not move do not notice their chains, because you're in one position. So you got to shift, and you got to rattle, and you got to roll, and then you're going to realize that you're being held in chains. And I hope that Guyanese will rattle and roll and move to realize that if they're in chains or if they're not. And before I go, I want to wish my Muslim brothers and sisters blessed Eid ul-Azha tomorrow, as you celebrate that very auspicious day. And with your prayers, I say, may the blessings and the peace of Allah be upon you. This is Gillian Burton Persaud. I was your host, wishing you a blessed and a successful evening and a peaceful and progressive week again. See you next week for Talk Back with Gillian. Good night.